Welcome back to Trauma Recovery Anonymous. This is the third expression of prayer power in this series on introducing prayer to your clients. We know that when a person's sense of self, their soul, their belief of their self-worth, self-esteem, acceptance, purpose in life, when these have taken a hit and they suffer with this sense of hopelessness and inferiority, this has a knock-on effect on their feelings about themselves and their lives and the world about them and their environment, which in then turns has an effect on their thinking, creating an awful lot of negative thinking, soul-destroying thinking. But if we can heal the hole in their soul and they can improve their sense of self-esteem and self-worth and value and acceptance and purpose and meaning to life, well then their feelings about themselves and their environment and the reason why they're on this earth changes and improves, which in turn means that their thinking improves. So if you have clients on your books who have been in therapy for more than a year, who are treatment resistant, who've had more than one therapist, quite possibly, I would imagine the reason is that they have a sense of worthlessness, a deep sense of hope, and maybe an inferiority complex. They don't really fit into modern life. Maybe they feel that they don't fit in, they're not a part of, and it's very hard for them to see a way they can be a part of. And so these prayer practices I've been sharing with you is a way to invoke in your clients a sense of well-being, to heal the hole in their soul, to mend their broken spirit, to heal the wounded warrior within them, to get a sense of well-being, of purpose, of understanding that they have self-worth and self-esteem and they were created for a reason, and it's a worthy reason to live and have their being. Now, as much as this is prayer power, the Bible tells us you don't have to join any man-made religion, any church or any denomination. Religion never saved anybody. It's just a fellowship place where you can go for fellowship. But to have some sense of worth and value, the trick is to allow God into your life. And these three prayer powers I'm sharing with you of the four are really quite wonderful. The first one I shared was the one where we have to understand that our prayers are a self-talk. It's not what we learned at a mother's knee or in church or in school, but it's what we say to ourselves when we think no one's listening. And this is both for your clients, but also for you, the therapist, who are becoming disillusioned that no matter what you try for your clients, it's not working. And almost you feel as though you need to maybe follow a new path, that all your skills, all your training isn't working for your clients, and maybe in some sense you feel like a failure. And you get to say, well, up until this morning I felt I was a failure, but now I realize I'm not. I realize I am the problem. My client isn't the problem, and the treatment isn't the problem. The problem is this soul sickness that affects each of us. And today I choose to be completely full of hope and giving of hope to my clients. And in the same way, the same thing with your clients. We want your clients to say, up until this morning, I felt like I was broken, full of despair and despondency, that I have PTSD or depression or anxiety and I'll never be normal again. But speaking to my therapist offered me a glimmer of hope. Like a light at the end of the tunnel isn't an oncoming train, but it is freedom from the past. And this has given me a wonderful sense of hope and sense of purpose and acceptance that it's okay to be me. And this moment I'm really grateful to my therapist, and so on. And you have your therapist, your client write a number of these prayers out, and then they will say, yesterday I used to think this way, and then a few days ago I used to think this way, and then last week, and then you'll end up saying, in the past I used to think this way, but now I think this way. And the client learns to have this new attitude to life in the present moment, to come into living in the present moment. The second prayer practice was to realize if God is willing to give me what I ask for, what I focus on, by the same token he's going to take from me whatever I want to give him. And it'd be a wonderful idea if at night time I can give him all of my ruminations, all the people, places and things that cause me nightmares and flashbacks. So you write out your list of every single person, place and thing, leaving no stone unturned, not holding on to any of them, and ask God to take them off you for 8 hours in exchange for 8 hours peaceful sleep. I like the burnt offering. After you make out this list and you read it to God, you go into your bathroom and you burn this page and maybe flush it down the toilet and remove it from your environment. And then the next morning, you go to pick up your cross back from God, and he gives you a new cross. And it isn't the cross with all of your baggage from the past and all your fears of the future. It's a 16-hour cross. And then you do that practice each and every day. And those two prayer practices are very powerful. The third one now is again, this is the beauty. This is called a shooting practice, shooting prayer practice. So you pick out, if you know from the first prayer practice, whatever you focus on, you get tenfold. Well, if you're sending love and kindness to every person in your life, you want to get that back tenfold. It makes sense that to every person, not just your family and your friends, but to those who are your abusers, your tormentors, your troublemakers, bullies, teachers, whoever they were, in privacy, not to their faces, but in private, you say, okay, Lord, this person I give love and compassion and tolerance and patience and prosperity and wealth and success and opulence and joy and happiness and peace and well-being. And then you go to the next person, you name that person, do the same thing again. And you may have 10 or 20 people that you use that you have resentments towards. And then there's 10 or 20 people who are your immediate family. And there's 10 or 20 people of your tribe, people who you care about. You might include your therapist and their family and so on, and your best friends and your friends in fellowship, people that you care about, sponsors, mentors, whoever they are. And you'll start sending out love to every person you can think of. And then you add in strangers. And as you're walking around on your normal day and you see a stranger walking along, you shoot a prayer to that person. Lift that person up by the shoulders. Take the burden off them. Relieve them of their burden. Especially with children, send prayers of love and support to children as well and old people. They really have the effect. They'll notice the prayer. They look at you like they'll notice you've given them a gift. That's quite beautiful when it happens. So this is the next prayer. You take the time to think of your worst enemies. And again, the same way that you change your attitude about them in the first prayer practice, in the same way the second prayer practice, we ask God to take them from you at night time. Now you're going to start praying for them, and then pray for your family, then pray for your people in your tribe, and then pray for strangers, maybe 5 of each, and maybe 10 of each. You'll work out your number that you'll work with, and you'll do this every day. And again, by day 10 of a 30-day practice, you won't know yourself. You'll come across one day where you'll meet one of these people who used to trigger you, and they won't have any effect on you. You may hear their name, or you may hear their voice, or you may see them. And normally where you'd fall apart and collapse, suddenly they have no effect on you, and you realize this prayer power works. You have peace now. They no longer can press your buttons. You feel safe and secure. These are very powerful prayers to introduce to your clients, and they will transform their lives. Their spirits will soar. This in the Bible it talks about we will be raised up on wings of eagles. We will soar. And that's what we get to give your clients and my clients and our family and friends. And the change in them when they come to you for therapy is profound. You'll see it clearly. They'll have a new zest for life. They'll want to do the treatment that you have had such a hard time introducing into their lives. Suddenly they'll want to do it, and they'll be all eager to do it and committed to do it, and you'll get through so much more. And then one day you'll find maybe by day 10 of 30 days, you'll be coming home to your family, and your husband, your wife will say, how is that today? And you say, that client I had who was in therapy for years, and I thought they'd be in there forever, he finally would close his file. He went off and had his life, and it was wonderful. And you'll feel the joy of this as well as your client feeling the joy in his family and friends, and your family and friends, and you realize you're here for a reason. And you weren't never the problem. Your therapy was never the problem, and your client wasn't the problem. The problem was just that they were without hope. Their spirit wasn't being fed, their soul wasn't being fed. And when you get to use this both on them and on yourself, and you may use it with your own children and so on, you find this very uplifting. And it's great for children as well who've been diagnosed with different conditions. Teach them to pray and to feed their soul, and the changes are marveling. You're going to start experiencing miracles in your life, in the life of your therapist. And if you introduce this to your families and your children, you will notice it in their lives also. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Richard Tierney. This is Trauma Recovery Anonymous. And next week I'll be sharing with you the fourth and final prayer of this 4-part series.